It's everything I dreamed of.
I want to tell my dad that I love him.
I still don't know what just happened.
I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to play this game. The legacy is not what you give people, it's what you put inside people, and also what they put inside of me.
Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Locker Room with Maria. Maria here, and there's so much to talk about, so we're going to get right to it with T-Bone Steak.
Hello, Maria. Sorry, I just screamed that really loud.
You did, that's okay.
I got like my microphone's all set up, so I got in really close on accident.
I know, it's good. So the Super Wild Card Weekend's coming up, but let's talk college first.
Oh man,
Georgia, number one. Did you watch that game? I actually
did.
Stayed awake for the whole thing.
I watched the first quarter, went to hockey, and then watched the last quarter at the rink, and I thought that Alabama was going to win, and I was really bumming. And, I mean, those guys are so big on the defense and offense.
They're huge.
And, I mean, what a great game, though.
It was a great game. It's how it should have been. We all wanted Georgia because we love Nick Saban and Alabama, but they've had it too many times. So here's a couple cool stats. It was since 41 years, since 1980, that Georgia had won a national championship. Number two, the coach, Kirby Smart. So it was 25-1 before for Nick Saban's winning against his assistants. So he always won. Now it's 25-2 because Kirby Smart used to be Nick Saban's assistant, and he won. So that's great. And then Stetson Bennett, they were all talking, he might not be an NFL quarterback. He was a walk-on. And then I was reading about his dad when he was young, and he welded together a couple, I think it was boxcars, and that's where the football people, the team met every week. And so it was this huge dream for him. And you saw him just crying on the sidelines.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It's hard not to like shed a tear of I get pretty emotional during like commercials, let alone like, it's just cool to see a moment like that for him. And those are cool stories to see where he no NFL for this guy's not. It's like, don't tell anybody what they can do. And it's just cool. And like even the Nick Saban after the post-game interview, talking about what good guys, he's like, this game doesn't defy these two guys. I thought that was super cool too.
Yeah, he was very respectful, as he should, and that's why he's a good coach.
He's, like him or hate him, he puts together NFL athletes before they're even in the NFL. Like those players are like the top athletes in football, college football, going into the NFL. Like they're already like, it's like going to a super good prep school before you go to a college,
Yeah.
It's just you're ready to go, all business, they work hard. I mean, those guys have like masters in sports, sports. It's crazy. And that guy tore his ACL too. That sucked, the receiver.
I know.
He hurt his knee before, though, right?
Yeah, at the beginning of the
went.
season. And then, I was wondering if it was the same or different. So Alabama did lose, one of their stars. They were down two, actually, of their stars. And it was kind of cool, too, that I'm sure it was Nick Saban sent in the one guy who was on the sideline already who wasn't playing to number one. I'm blanking on his name, to just talk to him when he was in the locker room getting checked out. Basically saying, dude, it stinks, but,
yeah,
this is what you have to do.
You're going to the NFL, bro.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they guess that they said that kind of just demoralized the offense there. Like, they didn't have a stud to throw it. They needed the depth of Georgia's wide receivers.
Yeah, well, Nick Saban at halftime told one of the sideline reporters, he's like, we got a lot of fresh guys that need to step up. And a lot of them did. It was a great game, except, when they got that interception in the last few minutes, that really sealed the deal. And then here's another stat. Kirby Smart is one of the few coaches that won a national championship at his alma mater. I think there were only like 4 before that have won a national championship at his alma mater because Kirby Smart played at Georgia. I'm all about the facts.
Wow.
The factoids. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it blew my mind.
I like to look this stuff up. Right after the game, I was like on my laptop trying to figure it all out. So congratulations, Georgia. Yeah, Stetson Bennett. I love that he was a walk-on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
You can do anything. All right. Super Wild Card Weekend is this weekend. The 2 bye teams are, of course, Green Bay and
the Titans. Yeah.
Isn't that were we talking about the Titans at all this year?
No, not really. Like they lost Derrick Henry, and then I think they just went under the radar. But they kept running the ball and they kept winning.
Yeah,
obviously.
When I was looking, I go, the Titans. We haven't talked about them at all.
Well, I mean, I was weird because the last week they're like the Titans have to win to be the number 1 seed. I'm like, where did this come from? Like, it goes to show like how I like, I don't really pay attention to the teams I don't necessarily pay attention to, but apparently I should be paying attention to this team because they're number 1 seed. They're better than the Chiefs.
Well, I was looking at the rundown and I'm like, well, who's the bye then for the other, league? What? I was like, Titans. So
it's funny, but like, let's start off with the key to the weird weekend was the Colts needed to beat the Jaguars. The Jaguars fans all dressed up like clowns because they were mad at the management. The owners of the Jags are absolutely furious about the fans dressing up like clowns. And then I heard that the Colts hadn't beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville for like 4 or 5 years. So you're like, oh no. And then Wentz, not so Wentzylvania or Wentzwagon, I mean, they just couldn't do anything. And I guess, it's like Jacksonville's Super Bowl too. They're like, all right, our fans are laughing at us. If we can ruin this team's, and you know what else is really cool too, that the Eagles have their first round pick, so they didn't make the playoffs, so that bumps their pick up. And the Dolphins didn't make it, so it bumps their pick up.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so like secret, and then like Frank Reich said that he doesn't know if Wentz will be their starting quarterback next year, and he said that he wanted Phil. As of that moment, he wanted Phil Rivers.
I know.
Jesus, dude.
The getting in was so weird. So yeah, you're not so Wentzwagon.
But it was just like the weird. So if the Colts lost, then the Steelers could make it. Then the Ravens could make it. So they were playing, and all of a sudden, I'm at work watching the Steelers game. I'm like, this game sucks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Boom. Colts are losing 26-6. Boom. That game matters. They're going to overtime. I mean, what a treat for a guy at work that, a game that didn't matter. And really, the Colts have no business losing that game either. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, I
They
thought
have the
the same
number
way.
1 running back in the NFL. They've got,
Yeah.
an okay quarterback.
You're
The
so
coach said
not
he-
on the Wentzwagon anymore.
I'm disappointed, but like at the same time, it's just like it is what it is.
Well-
I'm glad it's not the Eagles.
So Pittsburgh won, and they interviewed Mike Tomlin about the Vegas Chargers game, Raiders-Chargers game, and he was so funny. I love him. He's my second coach crush. So he was like, I dozed off watching the game because I knew I had a work day, but it was a tie in overtime, and it was almost a tie in overtime. And then I heard that a couple of the coaches on both teams are like, we would have been fine with a tie, but Chargers didn't do anything, so Raiders said, forget it, we'll
who
win
else
then.
pulled a Mike Tomlin? This guy. So I went to sleep, and the Raiders were pretty much, they had a comfortable lead.
Yeah, 18.
And, I was like, whatever. And like, I'm such a jerk. So I fell asleep. So the next day, I'm like, someone's like, yeah, that game was unbelievable. Or my dad texted me. He was like, I texted him. I'm like, I just really want this to be a good game. And he's like, looking good so far. I fall asleep. Later, he's like, what a game. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I look at it overtime. I'm like, oh my God.
I had headphones in because John had to get up early. So he's like, really? You have to watch the game in bed? So I'm like, I'm putting it so the light doesn't shine in his eyes. And I fell asleep, and I woke up with my phone on my chest at like 3 a.m. and went, I'll just see who won. So yeah, we all fell asleep.
The funny part, you'll look at your, what is it, your phone screen time? It'll be up like 55%. You're like, oh.
And I
yes.
slept through it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was funny though. Mike Tomlin fell asleep because I knew I had, work the next day. So he was confident in something because they had an 18-point lead, but not so much.
I mean, Justin Herbert, his receivers couldn't catch the ball like in the first half, and then finally he's like, "Hey guys, I'm balling out. Like, where are you? Hey, by the way, I'm still balling out. Let's do this." And then like one of the guys on the Raiders said that we were going to kneel the ball. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, then they were talking about what if each play knelt the ball for a tie for the entire game. That was the scenario they did.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been very funny. Nilsy's here.
No.
So, Big Ben, though, not his last day.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool. I'm not a huge Steeler fan. I love Mike Tomlin, too. But, he's had an 18-year career for the same team, 2 Super Bowls, great seasons. He got along with Antonio Brown somehow.
Before
yeah.
he went wackadoodle.
And, you gotta throw him some respect because like anybody to play for one team this day and age for 18 years is awesome, and his accomplishments speak for himself. And
And he had a little controversy back
Yeah,
a few years
definitely.
back, but not, he's coming out of it good, and I hope everyone remembers all
Yeah,
his great
They
playing.
made a South Park episode, and he was in it. You know that's bad when you do that. So
That's awesome.
yes.
So I'm very happy for him, and my dear friend Alexis is beside herself. And then the 49ers, Jimmy, he's like a model.
Jimmy G.
He's like a Tom Brady. Looks good, plays good. He's
He
playing
is
well.
He's Tom Brady's backup for all those years.
I know.
And one thing about him is like he's a gamer. It looks like. I mean, they were down 17, and your other coach crush, what is his name?
From
Sean
the
McVay.
Oh, Sean McVay.
Yeah.
He's down a few.
Well, he has nice hair. I like his hair.
He does have nice hair. You kind of have that
I did
Sean
say
McVay
like
look.
I wanted to get a Sean McVay haircut, but he was like, they scored the touchdown and he was in the end zone celebrating before the guy even spiked the ball, and the ref's like, Jesus, like what are you doing? He almost ran into the ref. He's just like, yeah, baby. He's like,
Oh my God! So 49ers, and we'll go to the playoff after your little wrap up here.
49ers are hot, and if I were the Cowboys, I would not be very happy to have to play them.
Yeah, because they're hot or not, and I know it didn't count for the Eagles and Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, your Eagles all of a sudden got pummeled.
Their secondary was in it. All these Cowboy fans on Twitter are just like, yeah, is that a record? We scored 94 points on this team this year. Blah blah blah. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah,
like, shut up.
The second to third string were in the whole game because it didn't matter, and I think that was a smart move. And they were, Jalen Hurts. They were going to give him another week off and just rest him, which is good.
They were the most injured team the last couple years, and I love that Nick Sirianni's like, hey, we're not playing our starters because we want to win football games. And even at the preseason too, I was like, good.
No, and Eagles, what were they, 1-7, and now they're in the playoffs. So kudos to Trevi's Eagles.
Yeah, my team, the one I own, right? No, I own their hats and stuff.
So yeah, let's go to what's next on your list.
Let's see. I got the Broncos lose. I thought that Drew Lock played a good game because he's kind of like, they drafted him and he was supposed to be the guy, but he just couldn't stop throwing interceptions. So Teddy Bridgewater came in to like steady the situation, but he got hurt. So he ran for 2 touchdowns, had a good cut. I don't think he threw an interception. But yeah, I mean, once again, Chiefs win. I mean, Mahomes looks so good when he throws it to Kelsey and those guys. It's just like business as usual. But their defense has been keeping it a minute, and I don't know. Like, there's some other teams that look really good.
Yeah.
And they're playing the Raiders right off the bat.
Yeah, we're going to get to all of that.
Okay.
They are.
Oh, yeah, and the 49ers look great on both sides of the ball. I wrote that down. And
They did. And Jimmy G, let's go.
And, oh, yeah, the Lions won. Beat the Packers. Aaron Rodgers wanted to keep that momentum going, that winning. Oh, whoops. And you know what was cool about that game? They threw, like, every trick play in. They had, like, these receivers throwing the ball. The receivers were running it, flipping it back to Jared Goff. Jared Goff's throwing the ball. I'm like, this is fun.
Well, and Aaron Rodgers played the whole first half because he wanted to keep the momentum going, and then they finally just said, forget it, and took him out.
Yeah, and then Bruce Arians' MVP comments.
Oh, I have that down too.
Okay, cool.
I have that
He's
down.
like, it would be a travesty.
Travesty. I think it's going to be a travesty.
I think a travesty is a little aggressive, but yeah, he's got more yards and more touchdowns, and he's 44. Like, come on.
I know. How old's Aaron Rodgers? 37?
I think so.
38?
I think he's a year older than me.
I know. I said it was since 1980 that Georgia won. I'm like, how old's Trevor? Was he born yet?
No, I was in 84.
We won't say what year I was born. Anyway, yeah, I thought you weren't even around yet.
Mac Jones was disgusted with his play, but I think that's good for the Patriots to lose right before the playoffs, because then that like sets their mind to like, we're not losing mode.
Well, and isn't it interesting because Mac Jones got hired because everyone thought it was Cam Newton at the beginning of the season. So it's funny to go from the beginning to the end, new 18-week season. But Cam Newton, good segue, still wants to play in 2022. He'll be a free agent. He said he hasn't ruled out being a backup, just says he wants to be on a winning team. Well, duh, doesn't everyone?
Well, it's just like, hey, man, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so he, but it's interesting to see where we've come.
He went to a Super Bowl. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I think they lost the Patriots.
Who doesn't lose to the Patriots? So it's weird. We'll get into who's playing whom in a second. But yeah, it's weird to see the Patriots because they don't have Tom Brady, but they're still in the playoffs, which is great.
I heard that like a Monday is like the coach firing day. It's called like a Black Monday.
Oh, I have
or
a whole
something
list
like
on that. Yeah, coach is fired.
GMs.
Yeah, and GMs, not
Yeah.
just coaches.
Well, wait. The Giants GM, he retired. I think it was one of those, hey, you're going to get fired if you don't retire. You know?
And that rhymes too.
I know.
I like
I
it.
worked on it all night.
Well, let's get to if you don't. All right, so Packers and Titans have the bye. So Raiders and Bengals Saturday.
Raiders are going to lose to the Bengals. The Bengals haven't won a playoff game in, I think, 31 years. I thought I heard that. And I was like, oh, my God.
So you have the Bengals. Derek Carr or Joe Burrow?
Joe Moneybags Burrow.
Well, here it goes back to like Nick Saban in Alabama. Joe Burrow has been in a lot of college games, going for the championship and all of that. So that's why the talk is that he'll do better than Derek Carr,
Yeah.
even though he's a rookie.
I just think their team's better, too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess experience does come into play. But they're at home.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Patriots Bills. That's at the Bills, isn't it? That's Saturday.
I don't know. I'm going to go,
It's supposed to be 2 degrees.
let's go Bills.
And they were talking that, it's going to be a running game because at 2 degrees, I don't care what kind of gloves you have or what heaters on the sidelines, it's hard to catch the ball.
Yeah, that's when the Patriots had like 230 running yards and they had 3 passing plays.
Exactly. It's like that's the Patriots. What? Okay, Eagles and Buccaneers.
Did you see Tom Brady say about the Eagles?
What did he say?
Oh, he was just like, this is our toughest game. It's like, yeah, because you have to play playoffs if you don't win it. But he's like, they're a different team than we played earlier in the year, and they're going to be tough.
So you got some shout outs from Tom
Yeah.
Brady.
That's like one of those things. He's like getting the troops ready. You're like, why'd you have to say that? Why couldn't you
Because-
just be like, oh, the Eagles suck. We're going to roll them. And then be like,
Well, they are a different team. I'm actually gonna root for your Eagles.
me too.
I would hope to shout.
This is cool because I get to watch it at work too. It's on Sunday at 11.
I'd come in for a burger, but there's so much disease out there
I know.
right now. Maybe I'll come in for to
Let's go 49ers too, by the way.
49ers and Cowboys. I think the Cowboys,
did you
because
hear
they were
this, too?
up, are going to be down.
Shanahan, the coach, he's like,
Yeah.
okay, so my team is so young that they don't even understand the Cowboys-49ers rivalry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If Dak has a good game, but I'm going to be rooting for the 49ers in my brother's honor because Pete loves them.
Yeah, definitely go Pete.
Yeah, so, and then Steelers, Chiefs. I'd like to see Big Ben win, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs.
I think so too. I mean, I will say I hope that the defense for the Steelers plays hard because they're pretty good.
Yeah.
you know?
But I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. And then,
well, playoff football is pretty. It's always pretty tight.
yeah, it should be.
Unless-
and then
unless it's
Cardinals,
not.
Rams. You didn't get the Rams coach haircut. So Kyler Murray or Matthew Stafford?
I'm going to go with the Rams because I just don't think that the Cardinals have what it takes.
See, I'm going with Kyler Murray.
Okay, do you want
It's
to
his first
do you
playoff.
wanna bet $1?
I'll bet $1 right here. Speaking of betting, after this, my buddy JRod's going to talk all about betting. We're going to have him on. We're going to have that segment on for 2 weeks, so you see it because I only like to bet on how many times they'll put Giselle on TV or what color Gatorade.
Oh, you like the what are those prop bets?
Yes, they're called prop bets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a prop bet girl. And by the way, never bet what you can't afford to lose.
And call the number if you have a problem.
Exactly. But yeah, so Tim Hasselbeck this morning said he trusts Murray more. So there you go. So let's go on to, that's the playoff picture. Coach is fired.
Yes.
Oh my God.
We'll start with, because I said the GM retired for the Giants because he would probably get fired. if he
Yeah.
didn't. And then Joe Judge, their coach, got fired.
Yeah, he lost 10 games in back-to-back seasons. He had a 10-23 record. But it's weird because a lot of these coaches, even though they get fired, will probably be picked up
I know.
by
it's so-
someone.
It's so lame. And then I heard that Doug Peterson might go to the Giants, the Eagles' old coach, Philly. They said that, and a bunch of Philly fans are like, we'll just rip this statue down and we'll keep Nick Foles up there.
Well, and Bears, Matt Nagy, 6-11 record this
They
year,
should have
and
fired.
GM.
They should have fired him. They should have fired him like 5 years ago. He's been on the chopping block forever.
And it's crazy. And then Denver, the second they lost their last game, Vic Fangio, is that how you say it? He got fired. He never had a winning season at Denver. Vikings, Mike
Denver's got
Zimmer.
a rough role too. That's just like it's a winning, like the winning culture. They want to like John Elway when he was GM, he wasn't able to bring in a quarterback. He had like 4 quarterbacks that just never panned out.
Isn't that crazy? Vikings Mike Zimmer.
Zimmer, yeah.
He was the third winningest coach in Vikings history with 72, 56, and 1. But he and GM
I still
both were
think
fired.
that comes down to like Kirk Cousins, getting sick, not being able to play, and then like key injuries like Dalvin Cook not being able to play. It's just like right at the end of the season too, when you need the wins the most.
Yeah.
You don't have your guys.
Well, and then Dolphins fire Flores after 3 seasons because they lost 7 in a row, or they were 1-7. Then they caught fire and won 7 in a row.
They didn't make playoffs, so they're like, you're done.
I know, but they said that he had such a good juju, and of course, Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. He said he'll entertain offers. Yeah, he'll go wherever the money is.
I would too.
Yeah, why not?
Be like, hey, do you want to coach college or NFL? You're like, see you guys.
And he got a lot of money at Michigan,
and
he got paid a lot.
He beat Ohio State too.
Yeah, which
made
was great.
playoffs, got smoked, and now they'll, whatever.
So the poor, all the coaches that got fired, and then let's go to MVP. As you said earlier, Arians at Tampa Bay said it would be a travesty if Tom Brady doesn't win the MVP.
Does he know the definition of a travesty?
It's going to be Aaron Rodgers, I think, even if Aaron Rodgers loses the first playoff game, I think.
I think that, I don't know, Tom Brady probably won't win. He definitely could and should.
Yeah.
I think that, like, everybody that's nominated has the right to win. I think Aaron Rodgers is unreal.
Well, this year, and then he was on the McAfee show, like he does every week, and I guess there was a rumor that Aaron Rodgers was going to boycott the Super Bowl, and he said the F-bomb a bunch, saying it's the dumbest effing rumor I've ever heard. Of course, why would I boycott a Super Bowl?
To make a statement.
And then if he wins the Super Bowl, will he stay? Should he stay or should he go now?
He's like, it won't be a long decision. This is my Aaron Rodgers, I just, I do research and it won't be, it'll just be quick and thank you. Nice, and he's very, like, soft-spoken.
Yeah.
And, like a ninja.
Well, and everyone...
Maybe ninjas don't speak, though.
I have no idea. Never watched a ninja movie. But...
Never met one.
Never met one. Yeah, there you go.
Halloween, maybe a couple times.
But, everyone's like, being a quarterback's hard. Aaron's had the toe issue, all of that, and he still makes it look easy.
Yeah, he had Tovid, remember?
Yes, he had Tovid.
That was like my favorite joke of the year.
But, so I think he'll win it. I would like to see Tom Brady just because he's older and, I'd like to say a little more mature, but maybe not.
What is, like, Brady has like 5 Super Bowl MVPs or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, just leave some stuff for the rest of us here.
So out of everyone, though, who, as of right now, before Wild Card Weekend, would you like to see in the Super Bowl?
I would like to see the Packers go. I just think that they're the best team. I think the Rams could go too, but I don't think they will because they're not. Because Stafford can't not throw interceptions.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the Bucs are deep enough. I think they're too injured, and I don't think they can do it. So they'll probably definitely win because I said that.
Of course.
So and
just
then
you said it.
on the other side, it's the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Titans, and they got Derrick Henry working out too.
We have not spoke of the Titans all year. What is wrong with us?
Well, now we're giving them some credit.
We'll give them some props. And, it's going to be a good weekend. Football 3 days in a row. Very exciting. And anything else before we bring in my buddy JRod?
Just got to remember that bet for $1. I got...
Oh, yeah. I already forgot.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote it down right here.
Okay,
betting
good.
$1.
I'll bring my $1. I did bring Trevor some Sunday socks. Look at that. Football.
Yeah, I'm going to wear them.
I got those in Palm Desert. So thanks, Trev. We'll see everyone. Have a safe week. Up next, JRod. Remember, don't bet what you can't afford to lose. But he explains the total betting process. And I think I am going to have this segment on for 2 weekends just because it's playoffs. And if you want to bet safe, bet smart. He is so smart in all of this. It's crazy. And I learned a lot. I learned that I'm a props better.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I don't really understand betting either. That's why I don't do it. And then I've heard
Probably
that
smart.
if you do go to betting, like, bet on sports because they can't. That's not like blackjack. Like,
Well, yeah.
There's actually a chance I'll win. And
Well, and it's funny because we talk about how you have pools in the rodeo when I go work, and he got into betting when he worked at ESPN. It was all legal, just office pool betting, and that's how he got into it 20 years ago plus.
That's awesome.
When he was working at ESPN. So he has had an amazing career. Like I said last week, he's busier than me, and he has children and a beautiful wife, and he gets up at 5 like you.
Well, you have a beautiful boyfriend.
I do.
He called. You missed his
I know.
text.
I missed his text. That's okay. He can wait. I love you, honey. All right. Join us next week where we will have more playoff picture. And right now, Jim Rodriguez, JRod. All right. I'd like to welcome back JRod, Jim Rodriguez. Last week, we talked all about football, how you got into it. This week, it's all about betting. You host a betting podcast that I have watched, and it's helped a little, but you guys know it. You guys live it. You said last week that you put your bookie out of business, which I absolutely love. Let's talk betting. First off, give everyone the name of your podcast, and I'll put all your stuff below.
Yeah, it's so funny now. We say traditional like website, 5reasonsports.com, but you can go. It's a YouTube show. You go to just look up 5 Reasons Sports. And my show is called 5 Reasons to Bet. You can go to my Twitter, which is at JRod Show. There's always links on it and stuff. And we do it 3 times a week, usually Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we, NFL, NBA, golf, whatever we can try to lay a bet on, and it's fun. It's sports investing, and it's funny when you find something that you're passionate about is important. But when you can find something that you're passionate about and that you're good at, then you've hit the mother load. And gambling has always been, listen, my mom growing up, was a bookie. My mom was the neighborhood bookie growing up, and so she taught me all about gambling. Growing up in LA, we would drive to Vegas once a month, and she taught me how to play cards. She taught me how to play craps. She taught me the slot machines. She won like 10 grand at Los Alamitos chariot racing, chariot horse racing. How degenerate is that? She bought a condo in 1987 with her winnings at the track. So she taught me everything about gambling. So I owe her a huge, God rest her soul, I owe her a huge, every dollar I make is because of what she brought into it. And my dad was just the opposite. My dad was a man of Zen, quiet. I didn't know my dad could speak for a while. But my dad would go days without speaking. He would just give you the nod or the look. So they were the perfect yin and yang growing up. But yeah, gambling is it seems intimidating at first, but it's really not. It's like anything. Think of the stock market only with athletes.
That's a good point. I mean, I invest in stocks, but I've never been a big bettor. We had a relative that was a bookie growing up, and forget January and forget the Super Bowl. He was not available. He was busy,
right?
And exactly. You said last week that NFL came to you because you do office pools at ESPN, which I love. We always do in the truck for rodeos. We'll draw what bull and all of that. We keep it luck of the draw with rodeo. So you started in office pools, and now you host this podcast, and you can make a living besides television off gambling.
Sure. Listen, NFL season's my most profitable, as Uncle Sam knows. But yeah, it's a good way to sort of. It's my stimulus package, look at it that way. But it's work. It's like anything, it's not the, they've got the best uniforms. It's funny because my mom, she was joking, of course, but she always had a theory when I would just ask her, how do you know which horse to pick on? And she would say, well, simple. When they do the little parade before they go, you look at the horse that takes a crap before the race. That horse is empty. That's the horse I'm running with. And I was like, and she did it as a goof, and the horse won. So I was like, "Wow!" But there is a science to this. It's a lot of it is injuries, a lot of it is trends, a lot of it is where they play. And the stuff that's crazy is when you're you got to be a psychologist, because we don't know if this guy had a fight with his girlfriend, had a fight with his wife, or their kid is sick. And now they have to go play these games. So it's a lot of, it's a lot easier to get this information than it used to be in terms of analytics, in terms of, I'm not going to pitch any particular website, but there's a million websites you can go and subscribe and they'll crunch the numbers for you. So you can be an informed bettor, it's just like the stock market, just like you have, websites that you can tell that'll tell you what stocks to pick. And that's the same thing with gambling. And it's a great way to sort of add to your income, and be a smart bettor. Again, I've always said this. Don't bet what you can't lose. If you're betting your mortgage, if you're betting your rent, no. Again, it is for entertainment purposes, but if you can make a couple, $2-3, then you're going to be all right. And again, I've found that, it's fun. It's a great way to spend the day. The only drawback of it, it's kind of like people who work in a restaurant. The last thing they want to do is eat, I find myself, it's very hard to watch a game unless I got some action on it.
Well, and how do you, especially with football, and it is January, so Super Bowl's coming up. How do you first, how do you balance it all with family? And you have to do a lot of research for all of your sports shows. Sure. And especially, I would think that the betting sports show, you have to do almost the most research.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. It's you treat it like a job. You got to carve out some time. It's so funny as I've gotten older and I've hit that the fifth floor of my life. By the way, I just turned 50. By the way,
I was going to say, didn't you? Happy birthday!
Yeah, good thing the alcohol and cigars have mummified me. So I don't think I look 50. I think I'm doing all right. But I think I've joined the 5 a.m. club. You get up at 5 a.m. It's quiet time. You have your coffee and then you have that hour or two before that I have to wake the kids up and you can just delve into whatever it is. And for some people, they're reading books. Other people are meditating. Other people, and I'm crunching gambling numbers and I'm reading over the games from last night and trends to be an informed gambler. I mean, sometimes it is luck and sometimes you're like, listen, all the stats, it all points that this result's going to happen. And at the end of the day, it's still human beings. But it's all about being an informed sports investor. And then when you make a bet and that bet wins, oh my gosh. And especially if your opinion is different from everybody else's, like sort of where I made my bones in this gambling business is I do a lot of boxing. I cover a lot of boxing for ESPN as a producer, not as an on-air talent. And I went on one of my gambling shows and I said, hey, this particular fight, check out the draw. I think this fight could end up at a tie. And in the fight, and it was 15-1, which means for every dollar you bet, you win $15. And the fight ended up with a draw. And I just sat there like that proud dad watching their kid walk down the aisle at the college graduation going, oh yeah. And then seeing my Twitter mentions and seeing my phone blowing up. You got it. Oh my God. How did you do that? How did you do that? And it really just, it pays off. And then, you put some bucks in your pocket. That doesn't hurt either.
Well, and when you place these bets, like you said, I mean, I'm assuming those games are what's on TV and you're following them. And do you get nervous because there's more on the line? I get nervous when, I'm a Seahawks fan growing up in Washington State and not my year, obviously, but it's like my dad used to get so nervous just watching his UW Huskies play. I'm like, Dad, it's just a game, but he would be so nervous. So I'm thinking if you bet, again, only bet where you can afford to lose, but is it a little more nerve wracking to watch these games?
It's so funny as I've been gambling, legit gambling for 25 years. Okay. Yeah. Half my life I've been making bets. So, it's funny. I saw this gambling show on Showtime. They did kind of a documentary about gamblers. And there's a very famous gambler who makes his bets and doesn't watch the games. Goes off, spends time with his wife, goes shopping because he says, hey, I've already made the bet. There's nothing more I can do. I can't catch the ball. I can't throw the ball. And I find myself a lot doing that where if I'm watching a game, it's because I really want to watch that game. But, you also make so many bets, like on an NFL Sunday, I'll make 10, 12 bets, and you don't want to be that guy looking at the phone or stuff like that. I just remember I had a moment of clarity. I was in Vegas with my wife and I used to be a big blackjack player, and God bless that woman. I know there's a special place in heaven for her. She's going to be a saint. She would stand, but she's not a gambler. She would sit there, standing next to me at the blackjack table for hour or 2 hours. And then I just said to myself, I looked at her and I said, "Are you having any fun?" And she's like, "No, not really." And I said, "What are we doing?" And that's when really sports gambling really became my thing. So I would make my bets, and then we'd go out. We'd go to the club. We'd go to the restaurant. We'd go sightseeing. We'd go to the bar. and the bets are done. So yeah, it's fun to watch the games, but also, it's I'll check my phone, see whatever the results are at the end of the day, and then you're done. But then it's been more of a convenience. And you said, how do I manage it with kids? That's the best way to do it. You make your bets, and then all right, what are we doing today? Let's throw the ball in the backyard. Let's go here. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's go have brunch. Let's go to the beach. Whatever it is, I'll sneak my little, how am I doing here? Oh my God, Patrick Mahomes, you're killing me today. This, that, and the other. Oh my God, the Dodgers. But that's the one thing I will say. I never bet with my heart. Always bet with your head, both in terms of what you can lose and on your team. Because if it was up to me, I'd bet the Dodgers would go 162-0 and win the World Series every year, and that clearly is not going to happen. So I won't bet on the Dodgers. I won't bet on the Dodgers. That's the only thing I won't. I mean, I will, but I'll always bet them to win. So if I think they're going to win, if I think this is the thing, then I will bet the Dodgers.
Okay, I want you to explain. I'm sure a lot of people know this. When you look at, because I'm always looking at the schedules for the NFL and it says -8. Is that the over under? Because I will say, I love the NFL. I know a lot about it, but that's why I have people like you on the show to explain.
Sure.
Talk about over under, the minus and the plus that you see when you look before a game starts.
Well, the most popular bets, the numbers you'll always see is -8 or -7, -2.5, and then there's a total. So the first one is called the side, the point spread, and that is what Vegas does is they'll say, let's take your Seahawks. Your Seahawks playing the Lions. Well, the Seahawks were -7.5, which means whatever the final score is, you minus 7.5 from the Seahawks, and if they still win the game, then you win your bet. Just like on the flip side, you'll see a team plus 7.5. So if the Seahawks are -7.5, their opponent would be plus 7.5. Same theory. Whenever the game ends, the final score, you plus 7.5. And if they win the game with that, then you win your bet. So that's how that works. And the reason why Vegas does that, or the sports books does that, is that they want to their goal is to get the equal amount of bets on each side. Because again, remember, Vegas can get killed like this. If all of a sudden, if there's a favorite and everybody bets the favorite and the favorite wins, well, Vegas has got to shell out all that money. So that's why they try to make the number so close that you're like, well, you know what? The plus 7.5 for the Seahawks, maybe the Seahawks will win by 5. So they won't cover the -7.5. So maybe I'll go on the other side. So that's the whole point, to try to get the equal amount of sides. Yeah. And then the other one is the total. And the total is just that. How many total points will be scored in the game between both teams combined? Will it be over that number that they give, or will it be under the total? The other number you see is the total. Let's say it's 48. And that is how many combined points between both teams will be scored in that game. It's exactly what it means, the total. Will it be over that number or under that number? And then those are the two basic bets, the spread and the total. But then you can apply to that at the end of the first quarter. What will the total be at the end of the first quarter? What will be the total at halftime? What will be the total at the end of 3 quarters? What will be the totals at the end of the game? You can apply that to everything. And then you have something called proposition bets, props bets, where you talked about what color Gatorade are they going to put on the coach at the Super Bowl. Well, you can do that from how many yards will Patrick Mahomes throw for this year? How many rushing yards will Russell Wilson have in this game? And they will set the number, and then you bet over or under that. And then different sports books, both brick and mortar sports books or online sports books, you can shop around. Like, I have multiple accounts with multiple sports books, because sometimes you'll get a better number, you'll get better odds here, or you'll get better there. And then probably your next question is going to be, what is that -115? What is that +105? That is your money line. That is the odds of how much money you're going to make. And the simplest way to do it, if it's minus, that means you have to. It's a losing bet, and losing bet meaning you're taking less money. So everything's based on $100. I base it on dollars, at least the way my brain works. $1. So -115 means for every $1.15 that you bet, you win $1 back. That's why it's a minus bet. You're winning, but you're winning less than you bet. -200 for every $2 you bet, you get $1 back. That's a prohibitive. That's a big favorite. Plus 105 plus 115 means for every dollar you bet, you get $1.15 back. That make sense?
No, it makes sense. But then how do you choose which one to do?
Well, then that's where you got to do your homework. You got to say, hey, listen, I think the Seahawks have been struggling lately. I'm using your Seahawks here.
Yeah, that's okay. They have been struggling.
I don't think they're going to cover the number. I think they're not going to cover. They're not going to win by more than 7.5 points. So I'm going to go with the other bet. So underdogs will make you more money because they're underdogs. They're not expected to win. A favorite, the book will say, hey, you're going to win less than you bet because they're the favorite. And then if you get an upset, crazy, or you get props and stuff, that's where it all becomes. And then it just becomes studying, just like stocks, just like what's Bitcoin going to do? When did you buy it? When did you make the bet? Because when you make your bet, you're locked into whatever number that is. But the lines move. The lines are fluid. And in this era of COVID, it's become a disaster because on Tuesday, let's say, the Seahawks are minus 7.5 against the Lions. Means they got to win by 8 or more points for you to win the bet. But then come Thursday, we find out player X has COVID, or we find out player Y is hurt. Well, now that line is going to go down. So you're locked. You bought your bet. You bought it at 7.5, but maybe now it's -3. So now the Seahawks, all they have to do is win by 4 points or more. So you either have to buy another bet, make another bet. So that's why in this era of COVID, that's been the hardest part in terms of the gambling perspective is you have to wait till the very last minute. Because once the game starts, you're locked in. But then you have in-game betting, which means you can make bets while the game is going on. So if all of a sudden the Seahawks get out in front, you can still bet on the Seahawks to win the game, but now it becomes more money you have to bet to win less money and vice versa. So it's fascinating.
I always
you gotta have good Wi-Fi. Let's put it that way. Have good Wi-Fi.
I was gonna say.
I'll tell you what. You can even bet what the next play will be. Will the next play be a run play? Will the next play be a pass play? It's crazy.
I saw that, you'll laugh, on some sitcom. They were betting and all the guys were around a bar and they were like asking the waitress, because she was really good at it. She just had this sixth sense. They're like, is he going to make the 3-pointer? Yes or no? And that you have to do it right away.
Right.
That's what's crazy to me. I like the will Bill Belichick wear a hoodie with short sleeves or long sleeve, no sleeves? Or how many times will they go to Giselle in the, in her seat? Those are the.
Right. I mean, how Super Bowl is the mother lode of sports propositions. I mean, literally, you'll be in Vegas or you'll go to your favorite online sports book and you'll see a packet like literally this thick of propositions bets. And one of my favorite prop bets, and I always tell this story, was the Super Bowl that they played here in Miami years ago between the Colts and the Bears. Okay. That year, the Colts were just steamrolling people. Incredible offense, just running people into the ground. And that particular postseason, they hadn't punted all postseason. Their offense was so good that they hadn't punted. So come the Super Bowl, you knew, because you checked the weather, it was going to be a rainy day in Miami, maybe more running, maybe the offense wasn't going to shape up, and the Bears defense was pretty good. So they set how many times would the Colts punt in the game? And they set it at 2.5. 2.5. So it means they got to punt either less than 2. I mean, there is no half a punt. So, and I thought it was going to be rainy. The offense has been, I'm going to go over 2.5.
Yeah,
so I remember that third punt. I shot up out of my seat. Woo! And, I'm the only one doing that, but that's how you can always tell who the gamblers are when there's just a random run play or a random catch out of nowhere and somebody, there's some proposition that just a good prop bet just came in there. That's the best part of it. It's sort of that little wink to the gambler, like, I see you, player. I see you.
So I definitely would be a props bettor. Or I love for the Super Bowl, the squares. You just pay however much. There's a ski shop in town that's been famous for it. And it's fair. They have this huge board and, it's maybe $100, whatever. It's just in-house. And you draw your number. And I've won a little bit of money for some Super Bowl parties at that. Because it's just random.
Squares is funny because squares is that's just luck. That's just, heads or tails. That's just luck. But it's fun. It's fun winning those as well. And the way the squares work is they have basically a plain sheet with a bunch of little squares, and then you put in your initials or your name. You pick whatever square you want, and you pay per square. And then they draw the numbers from 0 to 9. So 4, so they go 4, 6, 8, 9, and then down the side. And then whatever the score is at the end of the first quarter, at the end of halftime, if it's 7-0, so if you have 7 and then 0, you meet the square. Oh, that's who the winner is. So that's a lot of fun too.
It's
that's
fun at the Super Bowl,
parties.
Well,
the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl of betting. It's great. It's great. I lose track. I lose track of how many bets. I just at the end of the day, thank God for online sportsbook. I just look. Oh, good, I won or I didn't win.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great.
All right, I have to ask. I know it's going to be a couple. Well, who did you want at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl? Who did you think, and who do you think is going to win it now? Because this will air before February, but
as a producer, as someone who's in television, I think the absolute best matchup would be Patriots Buccaneers.
Yep. No,
Brady
I agree. For TV,
against Belichick, and the game's in LA, Hollywood story. That would be the absolute. I mean, and both teams are in the playoffs, so it could happen. I think I'd love for the Rams to get in there. For my son, I think I'd go out of his mind. I think it's going to be a Packers Chiefs Super Bowl. And I think the Packers are going to win. I think the insufferable Aaron Rodgers and his smugness will be the MVP of the league, will be the MVP of the Super Bowl, and he will walk out of Titletown with the title and end up either in Denver or maybe Miami or maybe Pittsburgh and be their quarterback and end his career there. But I think it's going to be Packers Chiefs, which would be great because there'll be a lot of points in that game.
Yeah.
In theory, so you would bet the over.
Well, and that's what you talk about. If people want to learn more about betting 3 times a week, I'm going to let you go because you're so busy. But after the Super Bowl, I want you back on just to give a wrap up of the whole season, how you bet, what you won at. I know that's not the right English, but I was interviewed in December for this magazine article, and I picked Cardinals. I can't remember. But, because someone was so hot and not. So the playoffs are going to be great.
Yeah. Cardinals started 8-0. Sure.
Yeah. And then my buddy Trevor, who helps me out with the podcast, he's an Eagles fan. And it's been a crazy season, but I learned a lot. And your podcast link is below because it's so interesting. I'm like, I got to have JRod on, because we go back a long way. The Arsenal in LA, baby.
The Arsenal in LA, I love it. And you're one of my favorite people. I love to see you succeed. I love all the things you've done, and you've earned it all. So congratulations on the show, on all the stuff you do with the rodeo, and maybe one day we'll actually see each other in person.
I know we almost made it in Vegas when I was there for the rodeo, and right back at you.
We were in Vegas at the same time. Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite people.
Come down to Miami.
We might be coming this spring to Vero Beach to see some friends. And I told John, I go, honey, we have to go down the coast and kind of check a few things out and see a few friends. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll be waiting for you.
Right back at you. You're one of my favorite people, and all you've done. I was like, I got to get a move on. He is not the competition, but you're just inspiring because all you do. And I'm with you on the not quite 5 a.m. mornings, but I'm a 6 a.m.er and just the quiet time. But I have no kids. I have no husband. I have a great boyfriend who understands.
Yeah. I just have my pug and my dog looking at me like, what are you doing up at this hour, dude? You're not a morning person. All right. Okay, sure.
Oh, well, thanks again.
That Cuban coffee helps me out.
Well, yeah, you have a whole other podcast on cigars. So check out all his links below. Love you. And here's to a successful betting season up into and after the Super Bowl.
Cheers. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey everyone, this week, Maria's Minute, it's going to be way less than a minute. I just want to say be happy, be blessed, be grateful, and be safe. If you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. That's my 2 cents. See you next week. Enjoy the football.